What is up? Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful day. Back with some more Resident Evil 5 gameplay for you. And today I'm going to continue my next character, my one and done characters in the Resident Evil franchise, with none other than Resident Evil 5's Sheva Alomar. Now Sheva is definitely going through a huge change in terms of the fans liking her over the years, because at this moment, I'd say in the last few years, she's definitely had a resurgence in popularity, not just in people wanting to see her in what we assume is going to be eventually Resident Evil 5 remake, but just seeing her outside of that. I forget who it was initially, but the writer, one of the head people behind Death Island, was talking about how they wanted to see her in the next CGI movie, which I think be cool, and I'm all for. But compare that to when she first started in the franchise, it is night and day, because she was probably one of the most disliked parts of Resident Evil 5. And no, it's not because of her character or even the fact that people weren't too forgiving of the game going cooperative instead of single player. It was just because of the AI. The AI was something that people hated with Sheva. Now, to be fair, if you played as Sheva, obviously you got to beat the game as Chris first, but when you play as Sheva, then Chris gets the AI, so, it's not really anything exclusive to Sheva. And I will say this right now, one thing that didn't do any favors is, I'm sorry, playing as Sheva, it took a long time to get used to, and I'm still not used to, just because of the side of the screen. That's one thing I do hope changes in the remake, is that I can switch to shoulders, because I am not used to the perspective that the side of the screen Sheva is on, because when you're used to playing one way, it's just, oh man, I'm not used to her being on the right. It's got to be the left for me. That's going to take a while to get used to, because I struggle big time. But nonetheless, let's get into Sheva, because I think Sheva is a really cool character that I definitely would like to see more of in future Resident Evil games, and just another character joining a long list of characters that just absent after one game and really just doesn't make a lot of sense. But let's get into her. Obviously, Sheva debuted in Resident Evil 5 and was the person who allied herself with Chris. And one thing, I know it's a little bit outside of what I'm trying to do with this video and how she can possibly return, but one thing I do want to say, and it gets me a little annoyed at times, but I believe Sheva deserves a lot more credit than what she gets from the fandom, honestly. I know that she's had a little resurgence in popularity, but I don't think people really give her enough credit for what she went through in Resident Evil 5, because let's just be honest. One of the things I hear all the time, and it kind of annoys me in a way, and once again, this isn't a knock. I know someone's going to turn into, oh, you're just knocking Chris. I'm not knocking Chris at all. He may not be one of my favorites, but I respect Chris. He's an important character, and I can't wait to see what they do with him in the future. However, one of the things I always get annoyed by, I think it kind of just disrespects Sheva, and I don't know if it's just because of the whole AI thing that's making people a little jaded because of her. I always like when people use Resident Evil 5 as an example to prove, hey, you know what, Resident Evil 5 proves Chris is the ultimate hero of Resident Evil because he is the one who ultimately defeated Wesker. And you're not wrong, but you're not complete. Yes, Chris did ultimately fell in Wesker, but he didn't do it alone, okay? Sheva was there from the very beginning and the very end of the journey. It's like they want to imply that, oh my goodness, Chris did this mission all by himself, and just Sheva was just there to attack. No, if Sheva wasn't there, Chris would be dead. He would have never made it to Wesker, let alone survive long enough to beat him by himself. They both needed each other. This was an adventure that you weren't going to have one person by themselves do the entire adventure. And where I get the disrespect to Sheva is they just completely ignore her, but not to mention, she survived this. This is one of the most brutal, at this point, Resident Evil adventures, with the bioorganic weapons and the viruses getting more and more dangerous than the ones before it. So I think Sheva doesn't get enough credit for surviving this mission at the young age of 23. And by the way, guys, I just want to say this right now. I know I've made a video talking about this, but this area, to this day, I swear, it still puts me on edge. Like, everyone probably has that number one area or moment in Resident Evil that just always puts anxiety or just keeps them on edge. This is that area for me, and I can only imagine what they would do to this in a remake. Don't let me get a hold of it, because I'd make everyone terrified shitless if they gave me the means to make this as the way I would personally do it. As I've already made a video talking about how I would do this area, but seriously, I guess a close second would be that glass cannonball from Code Veronica, but this area, man, just wondering where he's going to pop up from, the music, not to mention the AI. This is where the AI does come in against you for a little bit. I just hate how the AI is right behind you. It's like dude, get off me so you're not blocking my hindsight. I don't like you that close to me because your big body and your gun's just blocking a little bit of my view a little bit and obscuring my perspective. But nonetheless, yeah, I can imagine how dangerous they can make this in a remake. But getting back on topic, yeah, I just think Sheva deserves a lot more credit. I mean, you went on your first major adventure in Resident Evil. You survive a whole thing that's basically a Wesker-led event. Not to mention facing off against Wesker, including a battlesuit Jill, and surviving and living until about that's nothing to scoff at. And not to mention he was there from the beginning. So I know a little bit off topic here, but I just want to point that out. There needs to be a little bit more respect to Sheva's name for that. But nonetheless, I like Sheva's story of basically being someone who is the result of bioterrorism affecting, ultimately taking the lives of her parents, and she basically dedicating her life to getting revenge for that and wanting to fight against it. And also, and I'm getting off topic a lot of times in this video, I want to give credit to one person because I thought this was a very unique and interesting idea. This is not my idea. I read it somewhere, whether it was in one of my comments or somewhere online. So if it is you, let me know down below in the comment section. When someone said it would involve another character that I've already done in my one and done list, is it'd be cool if they would tie the events together of Sheva and what happened to her family and parents to what happened to Billy Coon when he was in the jungle, and that would just tie those two together and then have both those two somehow confront each other years later and see what would happen there. So they go more descriptive. I'm just thinking off the top of my head, but if you are the person who came up with that, that's actually a very interesting thing. It's a way you could tie two characters that I'd never thought could ever be tied together, somehow make things interlap more and make it more of a connected Resident Evil universe and not where everything's so disconnected and discombobulated. But that would be an interesting thing you could do, possibly what they could do for something else, and would also bring Billy back in light. But nonetheless, Sheva's only known information outside or after Resident Evil 5 is when he sent the message to Piers when she was hearing about the whereabouts of Chris during the whole Resident Evil 6 incident and worrying about him. But outside that, we haven't really got nothing. And to me, Sheva has, I honestly think has a lot of potential to really return, maybe more than some of the others, just for a lot of things. The biggest thing she has going for her is she still works at the BSAA, and this is where I just feel like her coming back makes perfect sense. I mean, think about it. We know the BSAA has gone rogue. Sheva still works at I believe the West African branch of the BSAA. I mean, do I have to say more? Not to mention, we don't know the smoking gun of why the BSAA went rogue, why they decided to deploy bioorganic weapons. But who's to say they haven't been manipulating their other members? So maybe they have it where it's like, hey, Sheva normally would never doubt Chris, but maybe the BSAA says, hey, Chris, he's gone rogue. He's not who you think he is, and he's not the man you once worked with. Maybe you got to, find him, take him out or something like that. And maybe Sheva believes that, or maybe she doubts. I like to think that she's someone that's like, I want to see it to believe it, because I just don't believe that and stuff, especially after what they went through at Resident Evil 5. But it's to say that the BSAA hasn't been manipulating the information and telling one thing when it's all a bunch of lies. So if Chris gone rogue with his own Hound Wolf Squad, and obviously completely against what the BSAA wants to do in at least the Europe branch, we don't know if it's just that branch or all of them in together. But the point is that there's a lot of things you could do with Sheva in terms of coming back and doing something with Chris, the Hound Wolf Squad, or maybe other members of the BSAA. So, the potential is there to do so many things. And I just like to see her, not to mention how she's changed over the years. How has the events of Resident Evil 5 changed her? Did it make her, go to training more? Did she, become more dedicated? Does she go on her own adventure? Maybe she does her own thing. Because, as I said, it comes to a point where it's like, yeah, I can see her playing a role in the whole BSA going rogue storyline, but maybe they have a whole new story with her. I think she's a cool enough character, and she's definitely got to be a veteran after surviving Resident Evil 5. Because, as I said, that's one of the terms of toughest Resident Evil adventure to survive. That's definitely got to be up the top. I mean, that was no cakewalk by any means of the thing. But another thing I'd like to see is maybe her and Jill interact, because obviously they didn't have much of an interaction with each other during Resident Evil 5. But I'd like to see how that went down, and maybe they, I'm always thinking of some like shady undercover version of Jill. Maybe her and like Sheva team up as some like Black Ops operation off the grid, even more so than maybe Chris or something. But that's just me being a crazy fan here. But Sheva needs to come back. I mean, it doesn't make any sense from a story standpoint as well as a character standpoint of why a character who has a legit claim to knowing a lot of the major characters who are going to be involved in the current storyline, on top of being a part of the corporation that's going to be involved in that same storyline, to just be conveniently absent. It's why I've always got annoyed when like someone like a Barry Burton, another character who's involved in all this stuff, and you just rarely see him. Like, why is he not involved more? He's a fan favorite. It makes perfect sense. It doesn't make any sense for him to just not be there. It's like saying you have a world-ending event in the Avengers, and all of a sudden, like, certain superheroes are not there to try to prevent the end of the world. And it's like, well, why would they not? It's the end of the world. Like, it's a world-ending threat. They should all be there, but in some shape or form. But once again, it's just Capcom putting all these characters in a bar, one-and-done bar, and just basically wonder if their numbers ever been called up. But that is my opinion. I want to hear your guys' opinion. How would you bring back Sheva? Are you like me, just would easily put her in like this whole BSAA going rogue storyline where maybe she's kind of like not sure if she should go against Chris or not, or maybe she's just like, I won't wait and find out because I know the man I teamed up with wouldn't do this. Or maybe you got some other idea. Let me know in the comment section down below. But thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video, and hopefully I can see you guys back on the next one. Thanks, and I'll see you all later. Peace.